What's going on, Kael?
How are you? I'm good.
Good. Yeah, good having you here on
Thank
our
you.
show
Thank you for
today.
inviting me to your show.
Yeah, yeah. What's happening? You're a busy guy, I see.
Busy couple of days. Yeah.
I guess we should jump straight into it. Happened to
Please,
be here
please.
right after your New York Times piece.
Yeah.
We were featured heavily, almost exclusively, I would say. There was another Goodman on the.
There was another Goodman, Jen
That was
Goodman, who was
confusing.
a spokesperson for the governor of the state of New York. Yep. Jen Goodman. Yep.
And
No relation. They somehow they didn't distinguish between us very carefully. There was a little bit of confusion about who she is and who I am. And I don't know. We could talk about the article and what it was about. You want me just to jump right into it?
very relevant. Tax the rich, huh? That's what I call it. So, or how do they call it? The pied-à-terre tax?
Pied-à-terre tax. So
The Mandani tax?
Mayor Mamdani.
The Ken Griffith poster child tax?
Yes, he stood in front of his apartment. He tapped on the screen of the camera and said, "We're going to tax the rich." And he made a very careful point to make it about Ken Griffin in particular. But the mayor and the governor came out with some very specific numbers. They want to raise $500 million in taxes, in taxing pied-à-terres that are valued at over $5 million.
So just to break it clear to whoever anyone who's not primary resident, whose primary residence is not in New
primary
York,
residence.
an apartment is worth over or assessed at over $5 million.
Not even assessed.
Well, we'll talk
now
about
we're already getting into some of the confusion around it, right?
Over $5 million will be taxed in a certain rate that they try to figure out now.
Yeah. Now there's confusion number 2.
Yeah. And is that going to be a recurring tax or one-time tax?
It's an annual tax.
Annual tax.
That's the way they're framing it. And they also quoted a number of residences that it would apply to. And so the number that has been quoted is 13,000 residences. And that number has been quoted pretty widely across all kinds of media sources. And that is how they arrive at $500 million. So 13,000 residences, $500 million. And Ken Griffin, with his most expensive unit ever sold in New York City, becomes kind of the poster child for this tax. So Marketproof is my company, right? We keep track of all the residential real estate in New York City and what's going on. And so we got an inquiry from a couple of reporters at the New York Times to do a story about this tax. So it was a lot of work, right? So we had to dig into it. There had been a couple of previous tries at doing this kind of tax. And none of those really went very far. Brad Lander did a bunch of work to try and get to this pied-à-terre tax. And there was some previous work even before that. So this dates back pretty far. And so the governor's numbers came from some previous analysis that had been done. And so the New York Times wanted to kind of reconcile the numbers that the governor's office was putting forth with some of these previous numbers and kind of try to figure out how they got to where they were at.
So before we get into the numbers, what is that tax? What does it tell us? What's going on here? Why do they need to add tax on pied-à-terre? Add taxes at all?
Well, there's some political positions, right? So you might even have a stronger point of view than I do about this. We, as Marketproof, we didn't take a political position. I might have my own personal points of view on this.
So the city's budget is in deficit.
Right.
And it keeps growing, and it's much harder politically to cut spending rather than raise taxes, which we know very well.
Yeah.
So it's much easier to levy another tax. And then they say, well, it's not the people who live here for full time. We'll tax only the pied-à-terre. And I think the DSA came and said, we'll tax those millionaires that are drained the city and its finances without, that something like that they are draining the city finances, the pied-à-terre people, which I have to say, it's actually the opposite. Not only they're not living here, not using the services of the city, not even sending the kids to school here, but paying top dollars for the residences, maybe dollars that someone else will not pay, and then pay annual real estate taxes. So Ken Griffin, for example,
Yeah.
he paid, in my calculations, or that his transaction paid the city and state $12 million in transfer and mansion tax. His annual tax bill is $841,000. And
It's
so
property taxes.
in real estate taxes.
Yeah.
So they want to scare these people because tax the rich. They want to scare. It doesn't make sense, but I understand politics. They need to raise additional revenue. That's how it came to play. And then you were interviewed about how practical this tax could be because there are some technicality to it, right?
Well, leaving aside like whether you agree with it or not, what I looked at is just whether it's even possible. Like, how does it work, right? So condos, right, are class 2, and they're not taxed based on market value. They're based, right? And so the previous thing you said, they're based on assessed value, right?
Which is a complicated
It's
formula.
right. It's
Very few people.
the way taxes work in New York City is really complicated. Assessed value, the analysis that Lander had done, he looked at assessed value of 300,000 or greater, and when you compare the assessed value to the market value, you get numbers all over the place.
Right.
And depending on what it is, whether it's a condo, where it is, what building it is, when it came out, the numbers are all over the place. And so when we did that, you don't get close to 13,000. You get something like, and we also have to bring in, how do you get to whether or not it's a pied-à-terre or not? Right.
That's another. So,
there's another
for
problem.
example, in Florida, your real estate taxes are 2% a year of the purchase price, right?
Yeah.
Fairly straightforward.
Yes. So
Here
that's
you-
based on the market value.
The market value or the purchase price?
That purchase price is market value.
Well, it depends how long ago did you purchase it.
Okay. Well, the market value at the time of purchase.
Oh, okay. So
Right,
the
yeah.
purchase price, whenever that was. Easy to understand. Here it's based on comparable rental properties that you may or may not fund. And that's why sometimes when we close a project, a condo, the reassessed value of the taxes, sometimes they're all the way there most of the time. And sometimes they're very reasonable and you cannot figure one from another. So
That's right.
I understand how you approaching this, trying to be systematic about it. And what did you find? Not only there's not 13,000 second homes.
It's more like 6,800. It's really not even close. So there's really, it's a very substantial gap. And so that's what this kind of New York Times article was about, is what the real number is, and how do you can you get to $500 million in taxes? You could, but you have a couple of things you have to overcome, which is the tax rate. You have to overcome the fact that these properties are mostly condos. They're not taxed based on market value. They're based on assessed value. And so there would have to be some way to tax them based on assessed value. Condos have never been taxed based on assessed value. I own a condo. I would love for it to be based on assessed value, right? My taxes would probably go down, right? So if they start taxing condos based on assessed value, some people are going to, there'd be huge political, just structural hurdles that would have to be overcome.
And they may collect less revenue in some condos.
Right. Some taxes are going to go down, but the path from here to there is very long. But it seems at this moment that the governor's office is really adamant about doing this.
And do you think this is going to be a segue or gateway to our to reforming our tax assessment
not on the
system?
table.
No,
that's not on the table.
It's very complicated to do.
Right. Many have tried. No one has gotten there. it seems like this was a pretty narrow political agenda. But what you're kind of bringing up is a very broad political agenda, and that does not seem like it's on the table. So we're in a really interesting conversation right now, and we'll see where it goes. They've been very narrow in what they're trying to achieve, but to your point, it brings up a really big set of things. So anyway, so Marketproof, me, our company, we just got ourselves inadvertently into a really big conversation. So it's been a busy couple of days. It's actually been a lot of fun, just to see like how complicated these conversations are in today's world, and the kind of gap between the political conversation and like the technical conversation that we're in, of like, here's what's real. In between there somewhere, there's, lawyers and people who like deal and like, well, how do we make these things like actually happen? Which is a conversation that, we're not in.
So probably gonna take some time to even
They have
implement
no
something.
time. The budget conversation is like happening right now.
I see.
So like you and I are sitting here, we're having a nice conversation. We're here at Douglas Elliman in a podcast room, like somewhere up in Albany, like right now, like there's the real conversations going on around like, how do we make this budget thing happen?
And this is well, it's part of a larger conversation about taxation. I think New Yorkers pay probably some of the highest taxes in the world. We have city, state, federal, you name it, we have it here. And so while this is not directly on main residents, people, primary residents in the city, it's part of that package seems to be pushing the envelope further down toward like more taxation. And as New Yorkers, I think I am concerned about it just for the
Yeah.
long run of the city because you want to keep this balance. Florida gained a lot of New York residents. We don't, and Texas as well. We don't want it to continue. And I think there's something very special. I mean, we're all longing for the days of Mayor Bloomberg. It was golden
Oh
era
boy,
of New
yeah,
York.
yeah.
And again, spending is very excessive. They could cut spending. It's not politically correct, and there's no motivation there. So we are in this point in time right now. And so when you speak to a reporter about this and you're trying, or you're not really political, you're technical, if I can say so, right? Technological, technical.
We try to stay out of the political conversation. We're just trying to create a baseline that anybody anywhere in the political conversation can use. Right. So the governor's office could call us. Hopefully they will. And we could just try to help them get real data to help inform their position.
So you have a company, one
Yeah.
of few.
Yeah.
You're very into technology and AI.
Yeah.
Marketproof right now service the real estate industry, brokers, developers, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And so you send your bots to do some digging out there in the cyber world, or how do you get this?
I love that question. So that, um, that brings up a really interesting aspect of what we did to do our analysis. So we actually used Claude to do our analysis. And that's an advantage that we had. We could have used other AI systems, but in this particular case, we used Claude from Anthropic. And basically, that gave us a huge advantage. In Marketproof, we have information on every residential property in New York City. And so, part of that is that we have every sale that has taken place. We know whether or not the owner lives in it. Um,
How do you know that?
Well, we know it through, let me just correct a little bit. We know it through a proxy. And the proxy is whether or not the tax bill is sent to an alternate address.
What if my attorney pay my taxes?
And that happens, but we use a percentage that we get from previous analysis
Mhm.
done by Brad Lander. So they have surveys that they have used, and so there are some percentage allocations from the controller's office that we use to estimate.
They're crossing data points?
Yes.
Okay.
So they have access to information that we don't have, and then we use their percentages to inform our AI system with our absentee ownership numbers to inform the AI. And the AI is, of course, like really good at bringing those data points together to give us a percentage probabilities of which owners actually live there and which ones don't.
And is it similar to the methodology that you employ when you start building market proof or
No,
all you no?
no. I mean, it's really, since
You have
uh,
the same sources. I mean, you go
the
to
data is
Acrace
all the
to
same,
get
right?
some.
The data is all the same, but really in the last, I would say, 6 months or so, just using the AI systems, which have just continued to get better. We just point the AI at the data, and it just cleans it up, cleans it up, cleans it up. And then when we're doing an analysis, we can use the AI to ask questions of the data to just write up an analysis. So you really have a couple of layers. You have the underlying data, which is getting better, and then you have the analysis that's getting better. And then we can also add in the mayor's comments, the report from the controller, the comments from the governor, our own information. We bring all those things together and we can generate an analysis which me or one of the people on my team can use with kind of our own knowledge of the market to analyze. It just gives us a tremendous ability to like look at the situation, which if the governor had all that information or Brad Lander had that information back in 2019, they could have done what we did today. Unfortunately, in 2019, it wasn't available, right? And it really wasn't even available last year. So, now and going forward, it really just changes what's possible.
Wouldn't it better if they, I guess, contacted you before they?
Ah,
Well,
so
that's
yeah.
you don't
Well,
have to respond to that.
yeah. Well, I'm hoping they're going to contact me this week.
Yes, it sounds like you're
Yeah,
getting close.
yeah,
Um, so, how did you get into all of this? Software, AI, data analysis. You had a few startups before, right?
yeah.
How did you come about this field?
I used to own a company called Blank Slate, and we
And
owned.
before that, you were working for the NYPD, was it?
I worked for city government. You
City,
mentioned
city.
that's going back a few years now. You mentioned Bloomberg. I was involved in the Bloomberg administration way back. It's we're going back quite a while.
What'd you do for them?
I was involved in IT.
Mm-hmm.
I was on the criminal justice side, and so that gave me a real glimpse into another part of how this city operates, which is a fascinating kind of piece of the kind of how this city operates, how it's the kind of layers of social structure
In
that
the justice system,
yeah, in the
or
justice system. That was after 9/11. Really gave me a glimpse into kind of local, state, and federal, and how all that stuff works. Um, it brings you up close to some things that most of us don't get to see. So that opened up my eyes to a lot of things. Um, but New York is resilient. It was resilient during that time. It's continued to be resilient. We'll hope that it'll be resilient through this current set of things. That led me to kind of understanding a lot about how data works and how different systems interact, which led me to when we owned Blank Slate to create some software as part of some of the things that we owned to create some software that ultimately became market proof.
so now we're talking about that. How does the AI change the way things work?
A lot. Um, so with market proof, what we do is we bring a lot of information together from a lot of different sources. So from all kinds of government sources, from places where real estate listings and information comes from news sources. We bring all that together into kind of one huge database. Um, and then what we do now is we expose that information to different AI systems. That those AI systems then help us clean up that data, create additional data out of it, do analysis against it, and then that gets brought back into market proof. And then what we do is we allow that information to be accessed by our customers' AI systems. So like for you here at Douglas Elliman, you could use ChatGPT or Claude or any other AI system to access all the market-proof data to just use on your desktop. Um, and all of those capabilities are just changing really quick. And so now what we're also doing is now building even more systems. So like right here at Element, you have MarketProof Pro, right, which is the system that the agents here at Element have. And we have more capabilities that we can talk about. We have something called MarketProof Scaler and MarketProof Rainmaker, which are brand new, like AI top to bottom, that bring AI right um, to the user. And the way in which systems are being developed now are really AI top to bottom, right? So the way,
So when you say top to bottom, so a
yeah,
few questions. I'm curious about how it actually works. For example, if you developed a certain task for for your AI or for
mhm.
an AI, do you just send it to dig that information out there in the cyberspace, bring it back to your servers? Or is it live? Every time I will run a search, it will go out and search it for me through your platform. That's part one. And
Yeah,
while I'm at it, let's say you gather 1 million, 2 million, 10 million pieces of information. How do you know? How can you filter through the errors that are in there manually? It's impossible. Can you create a system that does that?
that's a great question. I'll give you a really good example from me from yesterday. Um, so let's say, for example, a developer uh, is developing a building. This is really micro, but it's so good. Um, Develops a building, and it was going to be a condo building, but they actually developed it as a rental building, and they submitted an offering plan, and the offering plan was accepted, right? But there are no sales. So there is an accepted offering plan by the AG, but there are no sales. So in your ChatGPT or in Claude, you just create a query, a prompt, which says only show me um, the buildings which have an accepted offering plan that have sales. If there are no sales, don't show it to me. And the AI is smart enough to be able to look at it and see there's an accepted offering plan, but no sales. So these are, you used to have to create like rigid rules in your software. You don't have to do any of that anymore. The AI is smart enough to be able to do it for you.
And
Good, right?
I'm slowly
Yeah.
getting there. What?
Yeah.
Because in the day to day life, AI. Let's say if our life would improve in the pace which AI raised funds, it would be
Hmm.
incredible. Right now, it's a big promise that we're looking to see the actual day to day. So I want to know
Okay. I'll give you another one.
how our life in your area and other
Yeah. I'll
technological
give you another
area
one. I'll give you one even better for
are
you.
going to change as it relates to our daily task and work.
So let's take all that spend, right? So you're working with a developer and you have to make your marketing budget, which has a lot of spend for marketing.
Right.
And you have certain vendors which ask for large amounts of spend on their platforms.
Right.
And they are able to get that amount of spend from you because they have a lot of traffic to their websites, right? I know this is a big hot button for you. So,
You mean real estate serving server website, other than the
yes,
renderers, than the
no,
marketer, which
I'm
also
talking
coming
about
to
the
them
websites that have lots of potential
traffic.
buyers coming to their
Right.
websites.
Right.
So I believe that that sort of advertising spend is very inefficient. And I believe that in the coming years, those kinds of vendors will not be able to achieve those kinds of fees going forward because we can already see and project who your buyers are going to be. So we can look at the comparable buildings, right? So you have a building, right? We can see who the comparable buildings are. We can see who all the buyers already have been in all the comparable buildings. We can already see who they are, where they work, what kind of professions they're in, what schools they went to, right? All kinds of demographic information about
That's the
them.
demo we done a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, that this is MarketProof Rainmaker, and we can project who your buyers are going to be. So we don't need to buy marketing spend generally. We can micro target spend towards those kinds of buyers, right? So that kind of very broad-based spend, you don't need to spend that anymore. You can target your spend into channels specifically for those kinds of buyers. And so that would be you could spend on the web. You could target um, ad dollars towards those kind of demographics. You could do targeted email campaigns. You could do targeted direct mail campaigns. There's all kinds of much more sophisticated ways now to do very targeted marketing towards those specific kinds of buyers.
I think I told you that I'm ready for a pilot, and whenever it's
Right.
ready, and I'm ready.
Yes.
I'm actually,
Yes.
we are about to open a project in a new
Okay, so let's
project
do
in a
some
few
business.
months.
Right.
And I'm very excited because, altogether, the shotgun approach to marketing
Yes.
should not be out there any longer. It
Right.
cannot be, with all the technology and all the means we have, going out there and just blasting to the entire world with the hopes that someone will find you. It's
Right.
just,
It's silly.
it's silly.
It's silly.
And why would we, right?
Yes.
So it's the story you create for your product, and then the way you tell it to that audience, and you need to define your
Yes.
audience first and foremost.
So there's a lot of, if you want to, developers don't want to miss out, right? So you can have fear-based marketing. We have the buyers, right? They're all coming to us. Those kinds of websites have really been dominant for a period of time. That was really SEO based, search engine optimization based marketing. And that sort of marketing really dominated for a long time. But I really believe that sort of marketing is really behind us. And now it's just a question of time before it gradually starts to diminish. And so, over time, we all have started to see kind of the beginnings of kind of web agents. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but we're going to start to see the beginnings of web agents, right?
Which is what?
Well, I don't want to project too far into the future.
I do want you to project far into the future. Give us some. What is a web agent? What was it going to be?
Well, your web agent as a buyer really knows a lot about you and knows what you're going to want, what you're looking for. And you as a representative of inventory in new developments, right? You know what you have. And so your agent as a representative of a development.
You mean my AI private agent?
Yes. Each of those agents can find each other through a exchange, which, by the way, it doesn't exist yet, but it will soon. These things will start to develop. You already have kind of these
Exchange, meaning
Yes.
between them.
Yes, between agents, right? The buyer's AI agent and the seller's AI agent, right? It makes sense, right? There's all kinds of additional information that they can have. It's not just, click on this, I want two bedrooms
Right.
and this price. It's kind of silly, right? It feels so antiquated already. There's so much more information that can be exchanged between the buyer's agent and the listing agent's agent, right? They can find each other, they can schedule an appointment, and then they can exchange, and photos can be sent, and that more kind of traditional, share the floor plan and the photos. That can all happen after.
So we're
that.
coming to the point where we really will define to ourselves what is the human component that we need in this process,
Yes.
which seems like we do, and what is the technological tool that we need, because we don't need all of it. I'll give you an example. I went to Jean Georges in
Sure.
Miami to see
Wonderful.
the project in the sales office, and their sales office are
Beautiful.
really over the top. Like the investment, the chef coming asking what you want to eat, and it's crazy. And then I went to this big room, and they put those
Goggles.
VR virtual reality goggles, which was so incredibly real that I had to jump off the 30th floor, and I had and I did it. It was so exciting because it's so realistic. It's unbelievable. You go to every room in the building, and even the agent, even though she used to it, she was afraid to get over the
Right,
edge.
you can't do it.
But then I went out, I left, and I'm asking myself, is it helping to make a sale? I didn't think necessarily this specific tool helps to make a sale.
So some technologies just shouldn't be, right? Some things
Or
should
not,
be
right.
should be left to human interaction.
Right.
And to me, that's one of them.
So let's say that you're now sitting on this very, very interesting. Yeah, I see you coming up with your new picture and your software,
Hmm.
some of whom we've been talking for a long time about. Um, and it requires you to have a vision, really, to come up with ideas. It's something that leads you to think what would be better in the future with the tools that I have. It's almost too much to wrap your head around it right now with all the AI, etc. So take me into the future, like as far or as near as you can. What does it look like for people like us in this environment where robotics seem to be inevitably coming into the scene fairly soon? I don't know if people realize how fast this is going to come. Tesla just turned from a car company to a robot company, and the scale that they operate in is going to be
Yeah.
incredible. What does it look like? Is it scary? Is it exciting?
Oh,
Is
I don't
it
know.
helpful to us as humans? Is it us destroying ourselves? Is it what do you see from?
It's one of those. Um, to me, I think we should, automate the things that we should, and leave the things to humans that we should be doing.
I don't think it's possible.
Well,
You know,
we're not gonna we're gonna make a lot of mistakes, of course. But when it comes to real estate transactions, let's try to kind of keep the scope here. You know, um, if you look at the
don't go
range,
too far. You
yeah, let's
say
just
stay in
keep
the
it.
topic.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's stay in our lane. Um, if you look at the range of things that real estate agents do, right? And I work with thousands of real estate agents, and I see the things that real estate agents are good at, and I see the things that real estate agents struggle with, right? And what I've tried to do is automate the things that real estate agents struggle with.
Such as property search, of course,
Well, I mean,
research, market proof.
so, we, in Marketproof Pro, right, we give real estate agents property research. We give them the owner information. We give them building reports. We give them comp reports. We give them all the pieces that they need to connect with buyers, create the assets they need, reach out to them. Um, However, putting all those things together is a challenge for a lot of agents. They get assistants who can do it for them. A lot of them get VAs, virtual assistants in other countries. It's hard for people to do it. What real estate agents tend to be good at, really good at, is the human interactions. They're great salespeople. They love to talk to people. They love to go out. They love to sit with people. They love to show people properties. They love to interact. They're good at it. They're great at it.
It's very interesting to hear from you from outside the industry. By the way,
Uh,
shout out to
yeah.
our VA Steven in the Philippines. That was one of the most amazing things we've done. But back to the topic at
Yeah.
hand. So you're saying, in your eyes, a real estate broker, an agent, is about the talking
Human
to people,
interaction.
human interaction.
That's it. That's what they're good at. That's what they should do.
And you can come on the other end and quite cover as much ground on the technical research, comp set, whatever it is, show sheet, e-flyer,
All
e-blast.
of
You
those
have all this.
things. And so at Markproof, we've done a good job in getting all those pieces. Um, and we have something like 1,300 agents here at Element using Markproof in New York City. I
How
believe
many, Element?
1,350
Just in Element.
here in New York. And I believe there's only a couple hundred left that aren't using it. But of those,
And I know you will find them. You're very
they're still
persistent.
signing up one by one. But I've met most of them, and I've trained a lot of them personally, and I've learned the things that they don't do well. I've learned the things that they do well, and so now using AI, we're trying to close that gap, and that's where we created Markproof Scaler. Scaler takes using AI, closes that gap by automating that last mile, that next piece. AI is really good at it. It does those things that the agents are just not as good at and don't want to do. Um, so it looks at the deals that an agent has done, and then going back to, like, what is the AI good at? It's able to recommend um, what agents should do next, what marketing they should do to do more deals. Well, you've done this many deals like this in this area. Let's market to owners like this in this area. I'm going to create for you these marketing assets. I'm going to create these owner lists for you, and I'm going to execute this campaign on your behalf.
So
It does all,
suggesting ideas and executing.
yeah, it executes the whole thing. It sends out these emails. It creates these postcards. It sends out these text messages, and it says, I'm going to do it on this schedule. Click go.
I see. So you identified what you think a real estate agent should be dealing with mostly, which is the human interaction.
Yeah.
I agree with a lot of that. And then you create a solution and you're saying this is what the future looks like pretty much for the most effective, efficient, and talented ones. That's beside hard work is a given for all of us. And I see your ascent into that scene. You're very persistent. You worked for a long time. You created those tools and you keep improving on them while getting to know very intimately the brokerage industry. I believe you know a lot of the main players in the industry right now.
Yeah.
So as we kind of close to wrapping it up, what would your advice be? A lot of people are thinking today, should I go into the business? And should I do that as a real estate broker? Should I become
a real estate broker?
Yeah, real estate broker.
New people?
New people. It's a very different story than what it used to be.
Yes. However, there's two things I think new people need to do. One, they need to join a team for certain, because they need to be with somebody who already knows their way around. They need to be with somebody who already has the relationships. They need to be with somebody who already has leverage. That's the first part. The second part is they need to learn the tools. They need to be good at AI. They need to learn how to use the technology that's available, and they need to be able to support somebody who's out there doing deals. So the combination of those pieces, right? So you need to have teams that are fully functioning, can be very powerful. A small team with what's available now, especially with stuff like what Marketproof is offering, can cover a lot of ground. The old days of walking up and down Park Avenue and handing out $20 bills to the doorman is long behind us.
I don't know. Yeah, it's done. I never thought about it.
Maybe it still works a little bit.
Maybe make it 100 or
you're right.
Bitcoin.
You're right.
I think it's more relevant nowadays. Okay. Yeah. Well, listen, thank you for coming here today.
Yeah.
It's great talking to you about these things because my head is like, I have so many more questions, but I know time is limited. I'll definitely going to look out for your future products.
Thank you.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners saw the article in New York Times. I think it's just the beginning and not as easy as maybe the administration thought it was. And we'll keep an eye for what's next from you, Kael.
All right. Thank you.
Kael Goodman.
All right.
Thanks a lot,
thanks,
buddy.
Ariel. All right. Bye.